So you bought a set of resistance bands and you start following workouts. You're gaining some momentum, but you don't see any results. Or maybe you've plateaued. You might be thinking to yourself, am I doing the workouts right? If you're having these thoughts, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Disciplined Dave, where I put the technique in your physique. Today, we're gonna talk about the 5 most common mistakes that people make with resistance bands. Before we get to the 5 most common mistakes, make sure you watch the video until the end because everything I'm gonna list is super important for you to get results. Now let's get into it. Mistake number 1. People always try to match their resistance bands weights, you know, the little tags are on the end of the bands, with weights they do in the gym. This is a big mistake. This is completely different when you're going from weights to bands. Your way of thinking should change when it comes to using resistance bands to work out. I've tried out a whole bunch of different bands. If you watch my videos, I review bands, I do workouts with bands, so many companies send me bands, and I'll tell you this, none of those numbers are accurate. The reason why they're not accurate is because tension is going to vary on about how long you stretch or how short it is. So that variance in weight is going to change all the time. So don't look at it as, well, I can curl 25 pounds in the gym. All I need is a 25-pound band. No, it doesn't work that way. When you're working out with bands, feel is so important. You want to make sure that you have tension at the beginning of an exercise and at the end of it. And you want to make sure that you find your rep range. And your rep range, if I show you in a video, or if you're doing some reps that you heard of about 8 to 10, you want to start to struggle at 8 and then it's impossible for you to do 10. Now, if you get to that level where you go to that 10 repetition, it's time to either add a band or go up in a thicker size band. Go off of the feel of the tension more so than the weights that are there, because everything that you know about when you go to the gym, I'm used to doing 25 pounds when I curl, it's going to be an adjustment period for you to know what type of bands you're going to need as far as resistance levels when you're working out. Mistake number 2, ego lifting. Ego lifting is a problem when it comes to resistance bands or when it comes to weights. When I say ego lifting is that you're trying to put on a whole bunch of bands because you're saying, I can do 4 plates in the gym. This right here is going to, 1, cause a high risk of injury there. It may cause your bands or your equipment to malfunction. And that right there is not going to help you out at all. The worst part is you're not going to even see a change in your body. If you do that, you're going to have a high probability of injury and you're probably going to damage some equipment. Oh! That usually correlates to people trying to match up weights with the bands there. So if you really hone down number 1, number 2 shouldn't be too much of a problem, but you shouldn't load a whole bunch of bands on trying to prove your strength. I know that a lot of people have a mentality of the more resistance and the more bands that I have, the stronger I'm going to be. No, it's really about having great form and doing that with resistance. But make sure that you don't do any type of ego resistance when it comes to using bands. Mistake number 3, saving your reps for the next set. This is something that's very common. Some people, when they're working out, and let's go back to that rep range of 8 to 10, they'll go a little bit lighter than they normally would on the next set because they want to save their energy until the 3rd set. That is a big mistake. You want to make sure that you use every single rep and every set is going to matter for you. You want to make sure that you don't waste a set at all. Every set that you do is really going to matter when using resistance bands. You don't want to save your sets until the end because you're afraid that you may get tired. Getting tired and getting exhausted is what we want. We want to tear muscle fibers. We want to exhaust the muscle. And I know that you're thinking to yourself, but I won't be able to finish if I do that. That's not a problem you need to worry about. You want to make sure that every time you work out, you kick your butt every single time. You want to make sure that you exhaust yourself. You want to give it your all in every workout. That's how you're gonna see results. So if you're doing 8 to 10 and you can make it to 10 and you're not feeling exhausted there, you need to increase resistance or increase your repetition. Make sure that you're really giving it your all in every single set. Mistake number 4, only sticking with one routine. So this is what that looks like. Well, on Mondays, I work out my chest and then I do my cable flies. And then after that, I go ahead and do some push-ups. And then from there, I do my arm. You don't want to have a set routine that you stick with forever. That is a huge mistake. Your body is very adaptable. It's going to get used to your workouts. And the key to tearing muscle fibers is that we want to shock those muscles so they know to grow. And if they get used to it, you won't see results. So you want to make sure that you're always changing up your workout. And by changing it up, there's a lot of things you can do. Some people like to start off with their easiest exercise and finish with their hardest exercise. So to change it up, make that hardest exercise go to the front and make the easier one in the back. Another way is that you can change up how you do your reps. What I recommend is that for 2 weeks, do light repetitions of 15 to 20. Then you can do heavy ones of 4 to 6 for 2 weeks. And then you can do something called partials, where you're doing a partial rep in about 4 sets in different angles. And if you're confused about what that is, I made a great video about it called All Reps Matter, and it's going to show you exactly how to change up those repetitions so it'll change your routine so you can see results. And the last step, number 5, which I think is the most important. This is one that so many people overlook, and I did when I first started using resistance bands. Learn from my mistake. You want to make sure that you get good quality bands. Do not go on Amazon and find the cheapest bands that you see on the list and purchase those and think that you're going to get results with those. Well, you may for a very short period of time, but that's how long those bands are going to last. Ow! I have been sent so many bands and I have a bunch of workouts on my channel. I do a bunch of reviews on there, and let me tell you that good quality bands make a huge difference. It makes a huge difference in you, especially mentally, of having confidence that you can stretch out those bands. If you're doing an exercise and you're stretching the band all the way from your feet to the top of your fingers over your head, you're gonna want something that you know is not gonna pop on you, and it's gonna feel very good with confidence that you can stretch it all the way out. Because once a band snaps on you, you're constantly gonna be looking over your shoulder thinking like, oh crap, I hope it doesn't hit me again. And you'll be skittish on your exercises and you won't get full range of motion and get those results that you need. So make sure you get some good quality bands. The ones that I found to be the best bands that I've tried on the internet are the Bob and Brad resistance bands. Bob and Brad are the 2 most famous physical therapists on the internet. They designed some bands that are some of the best quality bands I have ever tried. Not only are they good quality bands, they come with really good accessories as far as handles, ankle straps, and even those accessories are really good quality. Even the D-rings that they use on there. They really paid attention to detail because they are physical therapists and they wanted to make sure they had great bands for their clients. Now, if you want to see all the features of why I love these bands so much, you can go ahead and check out the Band Awards of 2020 and you can see why I love these bands. You don't have to get those bands. I recommend those, but you don't have to get those. But just make sure you just don't go cheap on bands. You really want to have some good ones. If you're interested in the Bob and Brad ones, I do have a discount code that will take 10% off the bands, but they are great quality bands. If you're interested in those bands, I have a link in the description below that you can go ahead and check those out. So now that we've learned from our mistakes, we want to make sure that you go ahead and work out. So go ahead, go right now. Click the next video. Go ahead, work out right now. Go.